There are people who seem to have it all figured out. They read 3 books a month, they watch lectures on YouTube at 1.5x speed, they listen to podcasts on the way to work, they take notes, they highlight, they save articles for later. And if you ask them about almost any topic, productivity, fitness, investing, business, they'll give you a pretty solid answer. But here's the thing. These same people have been in the exact same place for the last 2, 3, sometimes 5 years. Same job, same habits, same life. And then you look at the guy next to them, didn't read half as much, probably couldn't name a single self-help book, got average grades in school, never really seemed that sharp. And somehow, he's got a business running, he's in decent shape, he's learning Spanish on the side. Nobody taught him some secret. He didn't have better resources. So what's actually going on here? It's not about intelligence. That's the uncomfortable part. Smart people like to believe that their problem is they just haven't found the right system yet, or haven't learned enough, or haven't planned it out properly. But that's not it. Smart people fall into one very specific trap. And the smarter you are, the easier it is to fall into it. They confuse knowing with doing. This sounds obvious when you say it out loud, but it runs much deeper than most people realize. When you read about working out, your brain treats it almost like you've done something productive about your fitness. When you watch a video about starting a business, there's a sense of progress. Like you moved forward somehow. You didn't. You just watched a video. But the feeling is real, and that's the problem. That's literally how the brain works. Every time you consume new, interesting information, you get a small release of dopamine, the same chemical that fires when you actually accomplish something. Your brain doesn't clearly distinguish between learning about a thing and doing the thing, especially when the learning feels effortful. So studying feels like progress. And in a way, that feeling becomes a substitute for real progress. So naturally, the smart person gravitates toward more of what gives them that feeling. One more article, one more course, one more video. I just need to understand this a little better before I start. And it sounds completely reasonable every single time. There's always a legitimate reason to learn more before acting. The trap is perfectly designed because it never feels like a trap. This has a name, analysis paralysis. And it hits smart people hardest for a specific reason. When you're intelligent, you can actually see all the risks. You can map out the ways something could go wrong. You understand the complexity. A person who doesn't think too deeply just starts and figures it out along the way. But the more clearly you see the obstacles, the more overwhelming the starting line feels. So you plan more, and then a little more. Meanwhile, the less analytical person is already 3 months in. They made mistakes, sure, plenty of them. They did things wrong, had to backtrack, looked a bit foolish at times. But none of that stopped them, because they weren't carrying the weight of knowing every possible way it could go wrong. They just went. And now they have something that no amount of studying can give you, actual experience. And here's the brutal part. While the smart person is still perfecting their plan, adding one more condition that needs to be met before they start, the other person has already lapped them, not because they're better, not because they got lucky, simply because they moved. The gap between them isn't knowledge, it's reps. Experience doesn't transfer through text. You can describe what it feels like to ride a bike in perfect detail, the balance, the weight shift, the moment it clicks. None of that description will help someone stay upright on their first try. The same is true for starting a business, having a hard conversation, building a habit, learning to sell. You have to go through it. There's no shortcut through reading. You can read every book ever written about swimming. Biomechanics, breathing technique, stroke efficiency, all of it. You'll still be completely lost the first time you get in the water. Your body has no idea what to do. And that's fine. That's how it's supposed to work. The water teaches you things no book can. But you have to get in. There's another layer to this. Smart people are often deeply afraid of looking stupid. And starting something new, especially publicly, means doing it badly at first. It means writing a post that gets no response. Filming a video that's awkward and cringe. Showing up to the gym and not knowing what you're doing. For someone who's always been the smart one, that kind of visible incompetence feels unbearable. So they wait until they're good enough that it won't be embarrassing. Which means they never start. And look, this isn't a character flaw. The brain is literally trying to protect you from social rejection, from failure, from wasted effort. It's doing its job. But its job description was written for a completely different world. In that world, standing out as incompetent could actually get you killed. In this world, it just means a few awkward weeks before you figure it out. The defense mechanism is running and it's costing you years. So what do you actually do about this? The first thing is to put a hard limit on how much you study before you act. Pick one source. A book, a course, one person whose advice you trust, and commit to starting after that. Not 5 courses. Not a complete picture of everything involved. One source, then you move. The goal is not to be fully prepared. The goal is to be prepared enough to learn from doing. The second thing is to practice starting before you're ready, on purpose. Write the post even though it's not good yet. Go to the gym without a perfect program. Have the conversation even though you don't know exactly what to say. Sign up for the thing before you feel ready. The discomfort you feel is not a signal that you shouldn't do it. It's a signal that you're doing something real instead of just thinking about it. That discomfort is literally the feeling of growth happening. Because here's the thing about growth. It doesn't happen in the planning phase. It doesn't happen while you're taking notes or watching the video or reading the chapter. It happens in the feedback loop between you and reality. You try something, reality responds, you adjust. That loop only starts when you actually do something. No amount of thinking can substitute for one real attempt, no matter how rough that attempt is. Third, and this one's simple, but people hate hearing it, stop waiting for the right moment. There will always be a reason why right now isn't ideal. You're too busy, you're not quite ready, things will settle down next month, the timing just isn't great. And every one of those reasons will feel completely legitimate, but the right moment is not coming. It was never coming. The only moment that exists is this one. Intelligence is a tool. That's it. A hammer is a great tool, but it doesn't build anything on its own. You have to pick it up and swing it. A smart person who never acts is just carrying around a really impressive hammer. And at some point, you have to ask, what's the point of the hammer if nothing ever gets built? The most successful people you can think of are not necessarily the most intelligent ones in the room. They're the ones who could tolerate the discomfort of acting without certainty, of being bad at something in public, of failing and continuing anyway, and doing all of that for longer than everyone else was willing to. That tolerance is a skill, and like any skill, it only develops through practice. So here's where we are. You just watched a video about why consuming content isn't enough. You know the trap now. You can see it clearly. And the next thing you do, right after this, is going to tell you everything about which side of this you're actually on. Close the tab and go do the thing you've been thinking about. Or don't, and let the algorithm serve you the next video. Your call.